Chelsea are looking to sign Jamie Bino Gittens from Borussia Dortmund this summer, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at why he's one of Chelsea's top targets and how he could be a key piece in unlocking Enzo Maresca's tactics for next season. To best explain why Jamie Bino Gittens might have such a good impact at Chelsea, we need to go back a little bit and discuss a big problem that Chelsea and Enzo Maresca found with their build-up last season. And the problem was this: Chelsea's build-up normally comes centrally. This is because Enzo Maresca wants to overload the centre of the pitch to gain possessional dominance. Then they want to flow the ball through the likes of Cole Palmer to then best organise and orchestrate attacks. The problem came in the form of the opposition's countering to this, and they countered it by condensing the centre of the pitch. In positioning a number of players quite deep and quite central, it meant that Chelsea's progression was very much halted, preventing players like Palmer from getting enough space. This naturally forced Chelsea out wide. Originally, this wouldn't be too much of an issue, because the idea around Chelsea's formation is to allow for 1v1 situations between the likes of Noni Madueke and his respecting fullbacks, and it meant that Madueke was able to get close to the byline or to be able to cut inside, essentially creating that duel himself, and if he was able to win that duel, opening up a channel of space for Chelsea's attackers. The problem came in the side where Chelsea had Jadon Sancho, essentially the left-hand side. Because Sancho didn't necessarily want to run his defender, and he also didn't have the blistering pace to beat his defender 1v1, it meant that Chelsea needed to end up recycling possession back through into the centre of the pitch. This also naturally gravitated the opposition players towards one side because they didn't necessarily feel threatened by Chelsea's left flank. It meant that Madueke was more or less stifled in his progression, and Palmer wasn't able to get on the ball in the areas that we know he likes. It meant that Palmer needed to drop a little bit deeper, and Madueke was more or less nullified, whereas Jadon Sancho was in acres of space. Combine this with his 3 goals and 4 assists in the Premier League, and it's pretty easy to see why Chelsea and Enzo Maresca didn't feel like Jadon Sancho was worth paying that money to Manchester United to get him on a permanent deal. But the question still remains is, how do you fix it? Originally in the season, Chelsea looked to try and progress Marco Correa and then get crosses from deep into the box. This worked on occasion, especially in some certain situations, but it is far from a permanent solution. And the solution really does need to come in the form of this left-hand side. A player who is able to not only beat players 1v1, but also have the comfortable nature of taking space that's in front of them and not looking back. The ability to find these pockets and opportunities and best deliver quality and momentum on the ball. This is a problem that Chelsea had last season, which hopefully they're going to fix. Enter Jamie Bino Gittens, a progressive attacking winger from Borussia Dortmund, 20 years old, and he has absolutely blistering pace. If we take a look at his season heat map, it's very similar to Jadon Sancho, occupying that left-hand role and still looking to drift and cut in field. But like I said, the blistering pace really does add something. It's also his fearless nature when it comes to going forwards, and that is really reflected in his general attacking play. He completes 2.4 successful dribbles per 90, and in comparison to Jadon Sancho, that is quite the difference. But most importantly, he also wins 4.8 ground duels per 90, and that is a huge difference towards Jadon Sancho with his 2.2. So Bino Gittens is doubling the amount of ground duels he's winning. He has more successful dribbles, and he also was fouled a whole lot more, meaning that he's able to not only win his team free kicks, but also be able to take the space that's in front of him. It's this positive play that I think Enzo Maresca will really be looking towards. He gained 8 goals this season from an XG of 3.6, so he's able to overperform his expected goals as well. And when we take a look at this, progressive carries at 5.53 per 90. That puts him in the 91st percentile. But a really impressive thing is his successful take-ons in 3.57 per 90. That puts him in the 99th percentile. That is incredibly high, and it means that he's able to go and take that space, take those duels, and really open up the channel for the rest of his teammates, namely the likes of Enzo Fernandez, Cole Palmer, and Chelsea's attacking outlets. With the ability to take those 1v1 duels, Chelsea become an entirely different outfit, posing strength and problems not only centrally but also out wide. his dynamic running, his ability to take space, and his ability to really take those 1v1 duels that has lent himself to the ideology of Enzo Maresca, and Maresca's need to have players that are able to take those situations and open up space for others. Take this example. We have Bino Gittens with the ball out on this left-hand side, and although he's not being closed down to a massive degree, you can get the idea that he's got the ability to go not only on his left-hand side, but also infield on his right, and he's got the pace and ability to then do so. He drives towards the box, but the most crucial thing is the option that he has to still go left. If you had a Jadon Sancho here, he wouldn't necessarily be comfortable with taking that outside lane, and if you had a Neto, while he would be able to take that lane and hit towards the byline, he wouldn't necessarily be comfortable with coming inside on his right foot, which is why you have those inverted wingers that have the ability to go on the outside. It's one of the reasons why Madueke is so crucial and so important, because he's happy to go both ways. Really, really crucial and important. In this particular example, Bino Gittens does a couple of flicks, does a couple of step overs, and then is able to cut inside on his right foot. He gets closed down by not one but two players, and instead of taking a shot and have it deflected, he understands the situation, takes an extra touch, a small touch, which just changes the angle on the shot and gives him the opportunity to fire it towards goal. It's a really simple goal, but it's the ability for him to have different options in this particular scenario. He could have gone left, he could have cut inside, he takes the moment for himself, and it's really, really important. These 1v1 duel moments that Enzo Maresca and Chelsea are really going to look towards. Having players like Bino Gittens who are fearless, who have the ability to take space, but not only take the space, but take the space at pace, at a speed, is incredibly important, because what it naturally does to the opposition is just stretch them a little bit. It forces them to think about moments that they wouldn't necessarily have thought about previously. It forces them just to open themselves up a touch, and naturally when you bring out those fullbacks, you're forcing either the centre-back to come across or the centre-back to retreat. Either way, you're opening up channels, you're opening up pockets, and all of a sudden you've got the likes of a Cole Palmer being able to make an infield run. You've got the likes of an Enzo Fernandez being able to make an infield run, and then you've got the ability for a link-up. It's these channels and pockets of space that can be opened with the likes of a Gittens being able to take space down those wings, with a Madueke being able to do the same thing. It's not necessarily just about scoring those goals. It's not necessarily just about getting those assists. While they are incredibly important and incredibly crucial, sometimes playing a more passive role but still instigating that threat is just as important, because it gives a massive knock-on effect for the rest of your teammates. Naturally, you're going to see players start to drift towards Gittens because they're aware of what he can do, start to open up those angles, and all of a sudden you're going to see the likes of Enzo Fernandez in a little bit more space, giving him the option and license to go forwards. It'll have a massive knock-on effect for Liam Delap as well. The ability to find those areas in the box, giving him a little bit more time, a little bit more space, and a better opportunity to convert those chances that are created. It also gives a massive ability for cutbacks on both sides as well. Again, making the opposition think about those moments a little bit more. All of a sudden, Chelsea become far, far more potent. It's not only about the final third though, it's also about those transitional moments. And when we take a look at Bino Gittens, he offered something that sometimes Jadon Sancho just couldn't for Chelsea. And that's why it's so incredibly important that you focus on different avenues of your game. Bino Gittens' ability to roll players and then run in beyond is another avenue that Chelsea can really look towards. Yes, you've got the likes of Nicholas Jackson. Yes, now you've got the likes of Liam Delap. You've also got Madueke or Neto out on this far side. But having a number of players that are able to run in beyond across that Chelsea front line can only be beneficial, and you're going to see passes like this come from deep into those forward areas. And the moment that teams have that 1v1 marking capability, once they have a player that they need to mark, it's then giving them the option to have those take-ons, to have those 1v1 opportunities. So as this goes forwards, you've got Bino Gittens right here. He's going to be pressured by the Bayern defender, and as he moves forwards, he's just going to let the ball roll through him, through his legs, and then it's giving him the opportunity to then beat his man. It's then about him taking that space, transitioning forwards, and really utilizing that momentum, that pace, that blistering pace. And then he needs to be able to pick his head up. He needs to be composed on the ball. And as we've seen previously, he's got 8 goals, I should say, from an XG of 3.6. Really good, really clinical, firing across the keeper. And it's just one of the moments that really showcases not only his physical capabilities, but also his awareness and his finishing capabilities. Really, really impressive. And he could be a huge asset to this Chelsea side. Finally, before we wrap up, let's take a look at one more moment, and this showcases something a little bit different. Rather than his work on the ball, we're looking at what he does off the ball, and in this particular scenario, looking to link up later on in this Borussia Dortmund transition. And when we think about Chelsea, although we think about Enzo Maresca's dominating football, we think about his ability to really pen teams in. Sometimes work on the transition is just as important, and we spoke earlier on about the need for Chelsea to be potent not only through the centre and on the right, but also down the left. It's this equality across the pitch and in their need to be potent across every single dynamic that's incredibly important. And you see this right here. So as the ball gets progressed down this right hand side, notice the positioning of Bino Gittens. He's moving a little bit centrally. He's not staying out on that right hand side. He's seeing the moment and seeing where he can position himself. He's moving a little bit more central. So as the ball comes through, you've got a good driving run down the right hand side, and look at how quickly he's done that. We're going to rewind that just a second. His pace is absolutely blistering. He beats Vasquez pretty perfectly, and he positions himself really well behind that Real Madrid centre-back. So as the ball gets driven down this right-hand side, again, you can think about Noni Madueke doing this. You can think about the likes of Pedro Neto doing this to try and play across into the box. It's incredibly crucial that you have a player, if it's not your striker, to make this moment, to make this movement. And if the likes of a Liam Delap end up coming out towards the edge of the box, you need another player in this area. And this is something that I just don't think Jadon Sancho was going to do for Chelsea, and it's why I think they're really looking towards Bino Gittens. He makes that movement, he finds this space, and he's ready to receive that pass. And then you're asking whether he can get on the end of it. He absolutely can. It's really, really well done. And I've got to say, guys, he is a top talent. He is really good at only 20 years of age. He's got a lot of growing to do. He's very raw, but I can really see him working out in this Enzo Maresca Chelsea system, and I can see him really unlocking a big potential for this system and this side in the future. But of course, let me know what you think in the comment section below. I would love to hear from you. What do you make of Bino Gittens? What do you make of Chelsea's idea to sign him, and how do you think they're going to do in the future? Let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you ever so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed, hope you learned something new, and I hope to see you in the next one. But until then, my friends, take care.